Our assassin hero fell in love and left his life as an assassin to live peacefully with his family. He had a beautiful wife and a cute son. However, one day, a group of assassins discovered their location and reached them. Then, an assassin who seemed alien-like killed his wife and child in front of his eyes. The story starts with a tense moment at a busy train station where a man rushes through, clearly anxious. As he leaves the station, he walks faster, but then a mysterious group stops him, knowing something about him that he wants to keep hidden. They cover the area in smoke and a fight begins. The man shows impressive fighting skills, easily defeating several attackers. They use knives, and there's a fierce fight until the man grabs some needles with his mouth, surprising everyone. Even though he fights bravely, there are too many attackers, and he gets overpowered. The leader of the attackers hits him hard, making him unable to fight back. Then, the leader finishes him off with a sword. After making sure their target is eliminated, the attackers leave, leaving chaos behind. Meanwhile, Joe, a happy farmer, comes home to work on his motorcycle. He jokes with his son Kyle about his extra eyes, which is part of their playful game. Joe's wife Sarah joins them and laughs at Joe's dirty appearance. They talk about Oni, a character from their game who wears scary masks, but Joe warns Kyle about getting too involved with such characters, while Sarah comforts him. Joe jokes about needing to finish fixing his motorcycle before Sarah gets into a pretend battle with the Oni. Their playful moment turns serious when they hear about the man's death from earlier on the news. Sarah worries that the Oni might be involved, and Kyle shares her concern. As bedtime nears, Kyle says goodnight to his mom, and Joe reminds him about his upcoming birthday. While Kyle falls asleep, Joe watches the security cameras around their home to keep them safe. Sarah's worried about the man's death, especially because they don't know much about him. But Joe stays calm and assures Sarah that they're safe from prying eyes. Sarah's concerned about a mysterious person called the Reaper, but Joe says the Reaper prefers to be alone. The next day, Joe cleans the fingerprints off a door handle to hide their identity. Despite the tension, they try to enjoy their peaceful life, and Joe supports his son. Their peace is disrupted again when they hear about another mysterious death linked to a secret group, leading to an investigation. On Kyle's birthday, the family celebrates with a fun cookout. They laugh and sing together as Kyle blows out the candles on his favorite cake. As Kyle excitedly unwraps his birthday present, he lights up with joy seeing a new video game and a new helmet from Joe. Choosing the helmet instead of the scary Oni mask, Kyle proudly says he's now a hero, not a villain. Sarah, moved by seeing her son's happy face, says she likes the helmet better, leading to a warm family hug filled with happiness and love. Later that night, Joe gets up calmly from bed and tells Sarah to stay upstairs while he checks downstairs for a noise. Everything seems fine at first, but suddenly, a scary person appears at the window and attacks Joe. Joe bravely fights off many attackers with skill. Grabbing one of their weapons, Joe uses his sword very well, quickly defeating several attackers. Amidst the chaos, he hears his son cry, giving him more determination. Stopping an attacker from coming closer, Joe fights with all his strength, knocking him down. Hurrying to find his family, Joe is stopped by another attacker who throws metal needles at him. Despite the pain, Joe keeps going, crawling upstairs desperately to reach his loved ones. When he gets to the second floor, he sees a terrible scene. Some attackers are defeated, but he's devastated to see Kyle and Sarah lying lifeless. In shock and sadness, Joe faces the cruel person who seemed alien-like and informs him about Sarah's brave fight before delivering a deadly blow. Joe is overwhelmed by grief as he deals with the terrible aftermath of the attack, his world falling apart in an instant. Filled with anger, Joe is suddenly hit from behind, feeling a sharp pain. Despite being hurt, he uses all his strength to pull the attacker, focused only on reaching his family. But the injury is too much, and he struggles to keep going. As more attackers come, police sirens can be heard in the distance, signaling help is coming. Seeing Joe seemingly lifeless, the leader tells the others to leave before the police arrive. When the police arrive, they find a horrible scene, a family killed. But Joe unexpectedly wakes up, remembering the terrible loss, which makes him sick. Later, in the hospital, a nurse calls for a doctor when Joe wakes up briefly, only saying his wife's name before passing out again from grief. When he wakes up again, he's told he survived miraculously, but he's devastated to learn his wife and son didn't make it. In his sadness, Joe is visited by two unexpected guests, Mike and Emma from the FBI. They ask him questions about who attacked him, but Joe doesn't say anything, too upset to speak. Realizing it's not the right time to ask, Mike leaves his card and tells Emma he thinks Joe knows something important, even if he's not talking. With an agreement, they set up a watch schedule, and Emma takes the first turn, keeping an eye on Joe from the rooftop. While watching, Joe remembers a sad moment when he said goodbye to his family. The memory makes him shiver as he recalls feeling very angry and sad. On the rooftop, memories of his wife and son make Joe very angry. He grabs a strange metal needle from his wrist and stabs himself with it. Suddenly, he changes somehow. Then, Joe is attacked by a group of assassins. Despite being very angry, he fights back using instinct, defeating many attackers with strength and skill. He uses martial arts and strange moves, confusing his enemies with his fast movements. Emma is shocked by what's happening and Joe knocks him unconscious. Joe keeps fighting, beating his attackers with power. He tricks the rest of them into an elevator, trapping them there. Even when outnumbered, Joe keeps going, showing he won't give up and making his enemies afraid of him. Mike gets more worried when Emma doesn't answer his calls. He's shocked when he sees a lot of dead bodies. Meanwhile, Joe finishes what he was doing nearby and meets the leader of the assassins. Memories make Joe very angry, and he attacks the leader fiercely. The leader is tough, unlike his followers. He blocks Joe's attacks well and traps Joe with a tricky device. Joe gets free quickly, but the fight with the leader is tough and neither gives up. Using his skills again, Joe attacks hard, turning the fight in his favor. He defeats the leader and demands to know how they located him and his family. The leader mocks Joe, saying he can't escape his fate no matter what he does. Angry, Joe then surprises this guy and takes off his disguise and kills the leader. Speechless and sad, Joe goes to his family, who are dead, and he falls to his knees. After that, he goes home and gets a box of memories, including a mask that reminds him of his lost loved ones. Thinking about his family, Joe looks at his house one last time before setting it on fire. He puts on the mask, still angry and hurt. But that's where this video ends, and if you haven't watched, high school girl is accidentally reincarnated into video game and gets dark magic. Click on the video on the right. See you on the next one.